I want to speak about two specific Maroon chiefs now. So we've got Chief Richard Curry, who is the head of Akompong at the moment, and he was the youngest chief at 43, about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, he was the youngest coronated chief, and he sits at the head of around 1,500 acres. So in 1738, the Crown gave or surrendered 1,500 acres of the most inhospitable land in Jamaica, called the Cockpit Country, and Chief Richard Curry sits at the head of that.
Is that the land at the moment that's being fought for? There's
been a huge amount.
Yeah.
So we had the lumber issues in Quickstep in Trelawney, and we've had consistent zoning issues around the sovereignty. I mean, Andrew Holness has said that there's no sovereign land, there's no sovereign peoples in Jamaica. And I said earlier that...
Who's that? So this is Maroon land by that agreement that was had before, and this, who you just mentioned
Andrew
now,
Holness,
is saying it's...
the prime...
that's the Prime Minister.
Yeah, to be fair.
So the Jamaican Prime Minister is saying that that land isn't the Maroon land.
There's no sovereign land.
But there's an agreement that says there is Maroon land.
There's no sovereign land, but it's UNESCO have attributed that land as preserved land. Yeah. So what we had earlier this year when...
So what about the agreement? Was there an agreement that established that as Maroon land?
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
In 1738,
in that agreement,
1,500 acres
that's yours.
Maroons. Now what happened in Jamaica in 1962 is when we got independence, that sovereignty became shaky because it was the Crown that gave Maroons that land. And as soon as Jamaica got independence, there's no longer...
That agreement doesn't mean anything because you...
So at the moment, Jamaica Maroons are... primarily Richard Curry, because he's doing some really good work in terms of trying to kind of raise the profile of some of the issues, because every year they'll kind of encroach on the land slightly. Yeah. And that's kind of the reason why...
That's sticky. What do you think is going to happen with that? So basically, independence has happened. So the agreement that was had before isn't with the Jamaican government.
I would say...
So the Jamaican government doesn't have to uphold it. Is that basically the case?
I mean, obviously, Jamaica is still... has the Privy Council. We've had Vibe Cartel get released the other day because of the Privy Council. So Jamaica still pays tribute to the British Crown. But the reason why I mention it is that because I would argue that in 1962, when Jamaica gained independence, Maroon leaders at that point should have done more to make the case for what happens to our lands after. Yeah. And I don't think enough was done.
No one did anything.
I mean, enough wasn't done publicly to secure that sovereignty in legal senses. Because we don't have a standing army. We don't have a standing army. We can't we can't.
But surely this stuff is, if there's a document, because like you just said, Privy Council, that means they're still linked to the UK legal system. The document exists. So is it in court? What's happening?
Chief Richard Curry has done a number of claims, put a number of claims in. But what happened a couple of years ago, and this is political now, is that historically, chiefs have taken money from UNESCO, UN for development. And the money hasn't always got to the community. So what we've found is that there have been poor leadership at points where monies hasn't been spent properly. I mean, my chief Grizzle in Trelawney was deposed in February this year for mismanagement of funds. And historically, we find if you don't have in place real democratic processes, it leaves people for crooked leadership. I mean, we see it across the African continent now in terms of leaders kind of misappropriating funds. You say, okay, now how come the chief ours looks like that and the roads are still bumpy when there was money given for roads? So these are the things that Chief Curry has been trying to fight against. And the reason why I mention it is that he did have some issues with some of the other chiefs when he came into power, because he was speaking so strongly against the government, when actually there was other chiefs at that point still taking bits of money to do bits and pieces, and there wasn't a unified front. I think maybe during COVID there might have been a meeting where they kind of invited him, but for at least 2 or 3 years Chief Richard Curry was kind of locked out in terms of the other chiefs kind of accepting that actually if we're going to make any inroads in terms of the sovereignty in this land, we all need to band together and fight the system legally from one unified front. And that hasn't been the case in more recent history.
And Chief Curry's been pushing for that.
He's been pushing for that.
He's been really
hard.
pushing for it. I mean, that's how I found out about it, to be fair, online.
He's been pushing for that hard. And again...
it's not a unified fight right now. It's a few groups are trying to establish sovereignty.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not unified. It's not a unified.
But even from what you're describing at the moment, I'm finding that there isn't that unification, because every part of the Maroons moving on has had a change come about from other people or different groups. So it's kind of, I hate the word saying it's, I don't like to say it, but it's like been washed out a little bit.
Well, to be fair, and it's in the same way that you see the community managers washed out. When I was in Kojo Town, Trelawney Town in the 90s, there might have been 1,000 people, maybe just under 1,000 people there. I don't think any Maroon community in Jamaica has more than 1,000 people other than the compound.
Okay.
I mean, Moortown, again, in the 90s, had about 1,500 people, 2,000 people. There's probably 300 people in Moortown now.